different layers of marketing, and what all we have covered is quite insightful. So, lastly, I will ask so that we can shift to our fun round, which will be quite, I won't say a rapid, but something where I would want you guys to be more candid about. So, lastly, I want to know, even I'm sure our viewers would want to know, when it comes to technology. Now, AI has become like chatbots, everything has become now mostly used. People are fearing for the jobs and everything. But how technology is being leveraged in real estate is my question. Second is, there have been a lot of proptech development in India. So when we see unicorns coming up from proptech landscape, it's more got to do which are through procurement, construction materials, and everything. Why there's not been much unicorns coming from directly solutions where proptech guys are providing solution to developers? The challenges what they have been telling us is that three things again. First, they want us to give us a free demo for like few months as a proof of concept. Second, to cut costs, because technology for them is still is should be cheap. They do not understand the importance of it. Third is the decision makers or whoever is on that call are not able to understand how the solution will actually help or make them, in the future planning will make them more progress. So I want to know your honest truth about where the technology is being leveraged in real estate, especially from a builder brand.
So yes, I think like any other, like digital per se, or
Mm,
any such, the technology adaptation has been slow into the market, into the real estate industry.
mm,
But certain things have been very fast in being adapted. For example, the visualization per se, like
mm,
the because the renders were accepted
mm,
way back from the initial, when we started off advertising and all, and the renders really took the center stage. The adaptation from that perspective of 3D renders to do the walkthroughs, through adapting a whole lot of these touch screens where
mm,
you can give your customer a immersive feel, because the experience that we can give without having a hole in the ground could
mm.
only a technology could give. And hence even those headgears and all were adopted
Yeah.
quite fast by the real estate industry per
Mm,
se. But having said that, a lot more technology of adaptations have been slow, because yes, it is a factor that uh, that I personally see. One, from the perspective of how it is presented to the developers as well, is I think there is still lack in clarity in pushing in terms of what is the
mm,
actual used case
mm.
where you could see a whole lot of jump in
Right.
terms of, so for example, even from a performance marketing per se. Now, I think the way forward is the CDP platform, for
Mm,
example, right? Because it's my own data, and I can do a whole lot of various ways of slicing, dicing the data and communicating to the customer,
mm,
creating a complete journey of when an SMS should go, when a WhatsApp message should go,
mm,
what kind of thing. If I've said something, the next message or next email or next communication
mm,
should be a complement of what has already been sent, and etc.
mm,
Right? Now, these are certain things which makes it much more easier to
mm,
nurture a lead, to convert that
mm.
into a sale. But yet again, the adaptation of that has been extremely slow, because there is a gap that I see clearly from a technology person coming into play
Mm,
vis-a-vis understanding of the use cases in the true sense, and merging them together.
mm, mm,
Similarly, the other aspects of technology also sees the same. So I mean, today the things have improved big time in
right.
terms of we are recognizing a whole lot of requirement for technology. A
Mm,
lot of us are really, really going behind all kinds of technology that can be done. But again, till a few years back, or not even, till a couple of years back,
mm,
there was hardly an IT or a technology person in an organization,
mm,
because technology in real estate was pretty much a shadow technology guy who
mm.
would probably be only concentrating and giving a solution from a networking
Right.
perspective, or those aspects. So yes, the adaptation has been slow, and I think the trust also that a person would give me a complete solution, and I don't want to walk the learning phase with that organization, is what is pulling us down in terms of adapting. Because even these prop techs are also, unless you feed in a whole lot of data, unless you bring in a whole lot of practices, the learning curve will still be there, and nobody wants to be the first to actually help do the learning curve, and that is where the mismatch is, in my view.
What's your take on this?
I don't think it's only with AI or prop tech, right? It goes back to having a simple ERP at work or a CRM at work. I know, and I'm going to speak on your behalf here, Dhruba. It was a journey just to get an ERP or a CRM on board, right?
Yeah.
The resistance. I'm sorry, at the risk of sounding like a parrot repeating itself, it's do I need it? That's the first question, right? Then there is a little bit of that mob mentality. Who else has done it? Did that developer do it? Did that brand do it? Okay, if they did it, now we'll do it. So it's a mixture of these, so to speak, intangible fears, right? As to why PropTech has not evolved with the sales and marketing functions as much as it's evolved with our technical compatriots. I also think the other thing is there have been other tools that we've been using that have helped take sales conversions forward, right? And the history of these tools are also very interesting. A rendered elevation was actually an architect's presentation to a promoter. Somewhere along the way, in the 80s or the 90s, it became the centerpiece of an advertisement material. The the made-to-scale models that you have, whether it's a single building, a township, whatever, again, an architect's tool to show to a promoter what they were trying to build, became a sales tool. Show flats, sample flats, mock flats, miniature models of the flat interiors. All of these tools again has built comfort. There are slight evolutions in how you do those things today. For example, you don't keep a large brochure on your table, you keep a screen and you do something with the touch, right? So those evolutions are happening. It's happening real slow, and it comes back to I'm okay with the velocity I have. My customers understand the product better. Or because I'm able to write on a piece of paper in front of them while either I am explaining the payment schedule or I'm showing them the benefits of their living room, which is very vastu friendly, etc., etc. All of it, there's that personal touch, if you want to call it. I'm not saying it is the right way of business, but it is the way of business that's helped the industry for the last 30, 40, 50 years, right? That personal touch. As much as, like, for example, I've been drawing another parallel to our lives. You have all e-commerce aggregators and operators there. But today, if I were to help my mom buy a kilo of apples, I will go to the market. I will still go to the market. For me, it's very convenient to go to the market because I got a couple of them close to my house, but I will still go to the market. Or my mom will go to the market, in spite of all the e-commerce players there. But I don't truly reflect the choices that other people are making, because the e-commerce model has also grown so much because everybody loves the convenience of the apples coming home, right? And now there's a variety in those apples. I can choose the Fuji or the this or the that, depending on the aggregator I'm working with. But in the space of PropTech, I think I think maybe for me it's a little personal also. I'm waiting for the latest model. Always. So if you look at Oculus headsets, they started getting a little popular. Multiple operators were trying to engage with developers with Oculus headsets, but the SDKs hadn't changed for so long. So you put that headset on and you were like, "What's wrong with my eyes?" Right. So and my first experience was like distasteful. So and then I talked about it to other people, and then suddenly nobody was interested in Oculus headsets. I thought the technology, the idea is pretty cool, but then also a limiting factor of my products today is that I'm engaging with during a weekend I'm engaging with 70 families, which for better or worse, during the last 4 hours of the day, 50 of those families come, which means my 4 sales agents, hypothetically, will finish meeting after meeting and they're running simultaneous meetings. So if I had to have an Oculus headset there to show an experience, I would have to have 4 headsets and 4 relevant investments in hardware. Right? So does my product need that? maybe not.
But you're speaking more of a front end visible solutions, right? Like I've noticed in sales offices and all, lot of companies have now built a lot of 3D models because builder is ready to pay huge ridiculous amount to it. I have seen some models which when I hear the price, I'm like, just because their ROI is because a lot of customers will see it. But what I'm trying to understand why we are not able to figure, because in global market, all the real estate players are utilizing technology for backend. So when I say backend, it's BIM, facility management, how to utilize your labors, construction, everything. But still, when I'm talking about backend, in India, the adoption is pretty less from these proptech companies. So is it because, as you were quite talking about these technology, I feel even the builders want to see the visibility of it, right? Just सामने है makes sense to put a lot of money to it, but in back end you figure, okay, why not just put a lot of more middlemen to it? Do you agree with that?
No, I think that's changing,
Mm.
right? I think if you look at the slightly complex nature of hierarchy within an engineering team, right?
Mm.
Those mid-level supervisory cadre of people, which, for example, if you're building if you have 3 lakh square feet, you might have, say, 6 of those mid-level supervisors. As hypothetical assumption here.
Yeah.
That number is reducing. That number is reducing either because processes are getting better
Mm.
or technology is helping.
Mm.
Now, I think what was the first thing, I think, if you go back, say, about a decade more, was MS Projects,
Yeah.
for example. People are still learning how to use that.
Mm.
It's 2024 and people are still learning. Yeah, of course, it will be only relevant to those who use it in the workplace, but people are still getting used to that, and that solved a lot of problems for them. Tracking, analyzing, all that stuff, all that stuff that they were doing on paper suddenly is on a computer screen, and that itself was a huge milestone for them in terms of tech improvement. For the next thing that's happening in tech, it's going to probably take a while, because again, get out of the comfort zone.
Right.
Right? Is any other developer doing it?
Yep.
That's becoming
I want to go see that there and let him tell me ki something is better.
Did he burn his fingers or did he get
Yeah.
profitable? It's like that in real estate, huh? Then,
Not maybe burn his fingers, but yeah.
But then he will take the
did
call,
he make
right?
sense out of it, right?
but if you get to know he burnt his finger, you won't dip in, right? By putting in your money.
I mean, given the nature of our industry at a human level, if that person burnt his fingers, it probably won't become public news.
Right.
That's there, right? But see, it's like how SAP, I think about 10 years ago, SAP made an entry. SFDC made an entry after SAP and captured much larger component of the market than SAP did. Right? Why? Because SAP didn't understand us. SFDC took the time to understand us, I believe.
Customers, right?
Yeah. And that also made a difference. And so going on to the PropTech side, yes, a lot of you would have understood the technical components of business, and for those technical components, you build solutions, BIMs, etc., etc. But have you? I don't know how to define this really, but have you really explained to us how it's going to help us? I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that question is relevant. Sorry, but I think maybe that's also a disconnect. As to who's telling us why we need that tool.
No, that's exactly the point. The use cases needs to be brought up with that ease. Now, what is happening is a whole lot of these adaptations, like rightly mentioned, who's taking it first, who is burning out of it, or who is adopting it and who's going forward. It will change. It will get adapted. But am I going to be the one whom the solution provider is going to experiment and then take it to the market? I don't want to be that. The second thing is, so for example, in our group, we've hired IBM to implement a whole lot of digitalization and solutions that is which will fit into the entire thing. And that exercise is going on, and I think it will take another 6 months to a year while we settle into that. But what happens is that the next level, when we do the proof of concept and we try, the 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 next layer or the layer below that, how much are they receptive to that is also a factor to contribute back, that is it really helping. Because if you don't start seeing result, on the top they're like, it is not working for us, but has it been taken to that level and has been practiced in the right manner, right? Similarly, like we mentioned about this Oculus and all, right? It's also very important that where is it getting adapted to? And do they spend that much of time and give it that much more importance, or even they are getting more intimidated out of that technology and saying, hey, I'm good at discussing the pricing for my product. I'll be able to sell it across the table rather than actually spending time with them, and then I don't know if I'll be able to, it goes wrong, it doesn't work, then the customer is going to blame me for it. So all of those things are happening even if you bring in a whole lot of tools. So I think it's again that learning process, and I think like any of this.
So basically what you're saying is when it comes to property companies, they should have case studies done in past. But when you mention about IBM, I think well-known companies, real estate people will definitely, I think, collaborate because they are known companies, but they are not known in real estate.
So
there you can bet
yes,
because they're known companies.
So the IBM again comes into play from a consulting perspective. They are not bringing in their products. They are bringing in these products which are existing. They are advising the organizations like us to say, hey, plug in this solution at this place and this will help you get so much more. Because like I mentioned, the IT per se in real estate has always been a shadow IT. There's no technology. I mean, none of the companies had a proper technology person who actually understand the business and implement it with solutions coming in play. I may be, shooting my mouth out, but that's what has been my experience in seeing a whole lot of peer companies as well. But yes, that portion of where IBM comes in brings in that skill of understanding and say, if hey, this may fit in, this will fit in, this is where you should implement, and hence. But still, that implementation will take a little bit more time because of the fact that the acceptance of that at every level and how it is implemented is a different challenge altogether in the industry.
I agree.